This is the 5th pellet stove, hot tent stove I am testing. This one is from Green Stove, and this is not like any of the other ones with the similar design. They have taken that crappy design that I've tested in the past and upgraded it, made some great improvements, and I'm going to talk about the pros and the cons of this stove in this video. One huge difference between this one and the other ones is you can burn pellets and wood. Later on in this video, I'm going to break this down into a wood stove and we're going to burn some wood in there. But first I want to talk about the pellet features. So this is the Hori5 from Green Stove. I'm just getting it going. Currently it is freezing outside. It's like 20 degrees Fahrenheit. 23 feels like 15. So it is a freezing morning today. 23 degrees, that's probably -5 Celsius. Somebody can correct me in the comments. This stove does a pretty good job at heating up the Ollie Easy 10 by 12 inflatable hot tent when it's set to high, because it's got 3 heat settings. High, where the hopper is all the way in the top position and your damper is wide open. Low setting is when the hopper is completely down, creating the smallest burn chamber for the pellets to burn, and your damper shut. The medium setting is with your hopper completely low and your damper wide open. That's medium. So I've been testing this stove for a couple weeks now, and set on high like this, I get an average of 4 hours and 45 minutes of burn time. So that's continuous hopper full to hopper gone. That's 4 hours and 45 minutes. The sweet spot, I say, is 4 hours on high. When it gets past 4 hours, you need to refill the hopper. When it's set on low, I'm getting an average of 6.5 hours of burn time. Now I'm using a hard softwood pellet. It's a mixture. If you use a full hardwood pellet, your times are gonna vary. You burning it, your times are gonna vary. So make sure you test it before taking it out in the field to see how long you get a burn time for. But that's about the average times that I get. On medium, it's somewhere in the middle, about 5.5 to 6 hours of burn time on medium. The highest heat output is obviously on high, the setting right now, and you get a nice clean flame all the way across, with minimum ashes and creosote going up the chimney. I've been burning this for 2 weeks. Not every day, but I've been testing it for 2 weeks, and my pipe is still pretty darn clean from the wood pellets, because pellets burn pretty darn clean. That's my average burn times with pellets. Burning it as a wood stove, you're gonna get varied times depending on what kind of wood, how big the wood is, and everything like that. So let's move on to this hopper, because this hopper is what makes this wood pellet stove much better than the rest of this design. When you first go to start this pellet stove, you want to make sure that the stove body and the chimney's already hot. Otherwise, you're going to fill your tent with smoke trying to start it from a cold start. So what I do is I open the door on the back side, on the end side, I stuff it full of paper and I light that paper on fire. That gets an immediate rocket stove draft going through the stove and up the chimney, and that's your preheat for the pellets. Once it's preheated, you fill the hopper with pellets. When you fill the hopper with pellets, the air intake automatically opens from the gravity and the weight of the wood pellets. And that's what makes this hopper better than other hoppers I've tested in the past. The air intake is right here, right above the burn chamber. So it sucks air in here, feeds the fire, and continues on and up the chimney, creating a one-way air intake, and that's it. All your other air intakes on this stove need to be closed when you're burning pellets here. Now this air intake is automatically feed and automatic shut off. Once your pellets get down to, I just touched that right there. I did not burn myself, but that was almost burn count 1. That was close. So once your pellets get down to here, the trap door automatically closes, and I'm gonna get that on camera. I've been trying for 2 weeks to get that on camera. I'm not sure if I did or not, but I'll show you that during this burn. Once the pellets get down, this air intake shuts. And the top of the hopper has air intakes on top as well. But it doesn't suck from there until this air intake closes automatically when the pellets get down low enough. Now, how that's better than other hoppers, other pellet stoves with a hopper like this, the air intake is right here. Once the pellets get down to a certain spot, this air intake here stops drawing air in and it starts letting smoke fill your hopper. With this, it shuts off that air intake and forces the air to get sucked in from the top of the hopper, reducing the amount of smoke and your chance of smoke filling the hopper. This design is freaking awesome, and I love it. I love how it automatically shuts off for you, automatically opens. It makes it less error friendly. It takes care of the guesswork and the errors for you as a user. So that is the main difference between this hopper and the other hoppers of the wood stoves that I've tested in the past. Another pro of this, it locks it in place. The hopper itself is locked to the burn chamber, and the burn chamber is locked onto the stove. When you slide it down, you have to lock it into place. Then it has two arms that go in and actually hold the hopper right to the stove. And that is freaking awesome. That gets rid of your chance of knocking the hopper off of the stove, which is great. Once again, it makes this stove safer for the end user to use right off the bat. Another feature is that it has a 90-degree elbow. The stove pipe doesn't come out on the, it doesn't come out on the side of the hopper on the opposite side back here. The other stoves, the exhaust goes up on the side of the hopper. This one comes out the side with a 90-degree elbow and then straight up. Now with this, it gives you all sorts of abilities to shoot it out the side of your tent if that's what you want to do. Shooting it out the side of your tent, you need enough pipe going straight up, enough vertical draw to create the rocket stove effect with your stove. I did have some issues set to low with it going out the side of my tent. I did get some smoke. That's the only time I got some smoke up in the hopper is when it was set to low and the pellets got down to the end. It only filled the hopper. I didn't have smoke coming out of the hopper, and it was very minimum smoke inside of the hopper until it started that strong draft again. Set on low with the pipe going straight vertical, I did not have that problem. I thought I just saw some smoke, but it's steam from the teapot. So let's make some coffee. So the whole top of this pellet stove gets blazing hot, and as you can see, it did a good job boiling water for morning coffee. This pellet stove is also equipped with an oven on the bottom, and it comes with this folding stove tool. This has keys and openings for all of your air intakes, as well as your oven and your ash pot over here. It unfolds, and then it has a little latch that locks it from folding in half for you. This is your air intake slot right here, and your opening tool right here. The doors have hinged latches where the tool goes into them, and then you open it like that. And this is your oven. One big problem I've noticed with the oven is ashes from the burning comes down into the oven. So if you are cooking something in the oven, I suggest adding a piece of steel that goes from this runway right here, straight down into the ash chamber to stop ashes from coming in here, or just use this side of the oven, because otherwise you might get some ashes in your food. I haven't had these latches stick like other latches on other stoves. They move nice and freely when a stove is hot and close up just fine, just like that, which is pretty darn cool. This slot controls the air intake ports. Now, like I mentioned before, when you're burning pellets, you don't want any other air intakes, the one on the side of the oven or the lighting port here, open, because then you can create negative pressure and your fire can start to go up into the hopper. So you want those closed. Unless you're trying to regulate the oven temperature, then you need that open, but only when you're cooking, then you shut it back down. Now, everything you see here, including the pipes, the burn pot, the shelf, the hopper, it all breaks down and it all goes inside of this stove with a nice carry case. Last year, I really started loving pellet stoves for hot tenting. This is the best pellet stove of this style that I've tested so far. It's got the best burn. It's the least errored pellet stove that I've used. It burns right off the bat. It burns well. You preheat the stove, you light the pellets, and it runs. What sets this apart, again, is the hopper, the improvements they made to the hopper with the air intake here, closing off the air everywhere else, and it creates a nice draft to burn all the pellets without an issue. I haven't had a hopper not burn yet, and I've burnt over 200 pounds of pellets through this so far. Coffee's about cool. Cheers. Oh, it's a good cup of coffee. So the door just closed. Once the pellets get low enough, the gravity feed door air intake shuts for you. I have had pellets get stuck in this door and kept it open, so you want to keep an eye on that. If you see the hopper get down low, make sure you shut the air intake so that the air gets sucked in from the top. Just like right now, that is shut, but it's still sucking air in through the hopper and making a nice draft. Our pellets are almost out, and it's almost time to turn this into a wood stove. So how do you turn this into a wood stove? Let's do that now. Frig, burn count 1. Why did I think I was gonna get through this video without a burn count? All right, that needs cool down. This is the piece that turns it from a pellet stove to a wood stove. It sits right there on top. And then you lock it in place. Now this is the ash pan. The back side of it folds down. And then it gets inserted back into the stove. And that creates your full burn chamber and allows for the flames to get up to the second story. Now once you have a fire going in the bottom here, it has to go this way, up, along the front, into the back of the stove, and then towards the back of the stove, and then up the exhaust. So it has 3 ways for the smoke and heat to go, capturing more heat from this stove, which is kind of cool. So let's start it. Now, just like when we were using the pellets, you want to preheat your stove so you get a good draft off the bat and you don't get a lot of smoke back into your tent. But right now the wood stove and the chimney is still kind of warm, so I'm just going to make a fire in here. If you're new to using wood stoves, heating your stove up first is key to not having a lot of smoke come back in. And then you want to use something called kindling, either small sticks or firewood split down into small pieces, and that will get your fire started. Now when you're using it as a wood stove, your air intake is on the side. It's your oven heat adjuster. And then I'm just going to use a blowtorch to start these sticks on fire. Once your smaller kindling is going well, you can move on to bigger kindling. Finger size, thumb size, and even a little bigger than that. Fire needs air, so you don't want to pack this stuff in there. Make sure you leave gaps in between it so the fire can breathe. Ow. Burn count 2. I touched the top here. Frig, burn count 3. All right, so here it is in the wood stove mode. It's really cool that they were able to make it an option with a pellet stove. Say you run out of pellets, you only bring pellets for nighttime and you want to burn wood during the day, you have that option. It's pretty cool in that aspect. Does it work as a wood stove? Absolutely. It's throwing some heat. I had the whole tent open because starting it, I got some smoke in here. I should have had the stove hotter. But I cleared out the smoke and now it's running very well. The burn chamber isn't the biggest. This is probably the biggest piece of wood you're going to be able to fit in there at one time. You can fit 2 smaller ones like this in there when you get down the coals. But other than that, it's a smaller piece of wood stove. And then you have the pellet option. The wood stove is cool for a backup, but where this stove is best is with pellets. Wicked easy to open and close this with the included tool. The hinges seem to work great even when it's hot. Like, I haven't had this thing lock up on me yet. The adjuster on the pellet hopper, you cannot move this when it's hot or when it's full of pellets. When it's full of pellets, they stop it from moving up. So you have to set this before you load it with pellets. Pellets even get stuck behind it sometimes. See, once you clear out the pellets, it moves freely. So set this before you start burning, otherwise you're not gonna get this to move. So that's the burn chamber all the way down. It leaves half of it to burn. That's on low with the damper shut. With this all the way down and the damper open, that's medium. And then that's high. Here's the air intake hole. This hopper, the way they designed this is the best hopper I've seen for pellet stoves of this design. Do I think it's worth the money or is it just funny? This is the least funny pellet stove of this design I've tested so far. It's wicked cool. It's got the oven. It's wood stove adaptable, which is freaking awesome. And once the fire gets going, it comes all the way around the top and then out the exhaust. It throws some massive heat. Worth the money, just funny? It's worth the money in my opinion for this pellet stove. Go check it out. Make sure you test it before you take it out in the field. I got quite a few stoves from Green Stove. Some more to come. Pellet stove, wood stove? That's pretty freaking cool. Let me know what you guys think of this. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Is It Worth the Money? Is it just funny? I do think this is worth the money. I'll leave a link in the description down below. Amazon affiliate link. Go check it out. Perfect for Christmas. And these swivel chairs. These swivel chairs are great for hot tenting or camping. It's quickly become one of my favorite chairs. I'll leave that in the description down below too. Go check it out. I don't recommend having it up on a table, but for my demonstration purposes, I wanted it up high with me. Thanks for watching.